Hello and welcome to the Golf Course Lawn Show. My name is Ron Henry and I am here to help answer your lawn care questions. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. Super happy to have you here. The way this works is really simple. On your screen, you will see a chat box. And in that chat box, you can enter your question, concern, comment of the day, and I work through them in the order that they come in. Now, sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I do not. But either way, we have an awesome time talking about lawn care and sometimes life. Guys, it's the start of the season. We are, a third of the way through January, and things are looking up. We're getting ready to get things rolling. I'll talk to you guys about some of the stuff that I've already done on the lawn and things I'm preparing for. And it's interesting. The last, 48 hours, the weather's taken a major change for, let's say for the worse. It's probably for the different here in the South. So I've got some videos and some pictures to show you from that, as well as some pictures from some viewers showing you what they're experiencing. And overall should be a good time. So feel free to drop your questions or comments in the chat, primarily related to lawn care or anything that you have going on, any questions you might have about, when to get the season started in your area, what your plans or goals are for this upcoming year. And I will work through them again in the order that they come in. YouTube is our primary platform that the content is streamed on, but you can also get us on Meta and Instagram. So whichever way works better for you, feel free to participate. All right. Let us see who we have in the show this evening. Starting things out, we have Mr. Gerald Jennings. He says, my grass is covered with snow and my power's off, but Ron never fails. I try, man. I try to be consistent on as far as, being here every Friday night to talk about grass, even though, today is probably one of the most anti-grass days as far as weather goes for the year in Georgia. So it's we got snow outside. I believe it's going to start snowing again here in a little bit, assuming it's not already. But yeah, we get our 1 or 2 days of snow, and we'll see how long it sticks around. All right. Hopefully you get power back soon, Gerald. But I appreciate the fact that even though you don't have power, you're still taking some time to hang out in the live stream. So thank you so much for that. Vahid Navi from the Great White North is chiming in saying hello. What's going on, Vahid? Hopefully you're doing all right, sir. Hopefully, I imagine you probably got plenty of snow where you are. Hopefully you're staying warm. And then next up is Mr. Ninos Yokhana. He says, happy Friday, everyone from Chicago. Cannot wait for the season to start as well. Already passed my like. I really appreciate that, Ninos. So yeah, guys, it's going to be a slow night tonight, I'm sure, given, the weather, and I'm competing with a major sports event. Here's the thing. It's one of the few times you're going to hear me say this, but hook 'em horns, because, figure someone in the South, I still want them to go out and beat Ohio and whoever ends up, I think Notre Dame's going through, right? So really want Texas to win. That's who I'm behind here going into the national championship. We'll see. So hopefully they can get it done here tonight. All right. Next, we have Mr. Matthew Whitson. He says, happy Friday, everyone. Snow covered here in Arkansas. Can't wait until the season starts. Yeah, you and me both, man. It's funny. The lawn, I went out there the other day and I cut it. I double cut it, get the stripes all set out, making it look really good. The thumbnail that you guys saw for the live stream is the lawn from a week or so ago. And then today, while I'm, thinking about getting ready for the season and just thinking of all the great things that are going to happen, the resod and all the plans for the nutrient program for the season, then this happens. This is this morning, probably around 8 o'clock or so in the morning, and the snow started coming down, and it did not take long for the entire lawn to be covered in snow. It still looks like that. It stopped snowing around here around noonish, and I think there's supposed to be some more tonight. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow morning. But that's what I woke up to. That's what we're dealing with on the lawn right now. So a couple other pictures. There you go, and then another one as well. But guys, there's still a bright side to this, right? Because one thing you can say is, even though our lawns are perhaps snow covered, you can't get out there and do anything in the lawn, you can still dominate, even though we got snow outside. Case in point, Jason Harrison, one of the Academy members, sent some pictures in for your guys' enjoyment this evening. And there's one advantage. To real mowing your lawn. If you're maintaining your lawn fairly short, you're keeping it around 0.7 inches like he is, even though you don't have green grass, you can still, dominate in some ways. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you take a look at this picture here, the lawn with the snow on it, where it's already accumulated, is Jason's lawn because it's mowed shorter. So hence the snow is showing up sooner on his lawn. It's being covered sooner on his lawn than the neighbor. So even though it's not a way that we typically like to dominate, you can see the man's got a really crisp domination line going on there. The lawn to the right is probably being mowed at, who knows, 6, 7, 8 inches, 2 feet, who knows. But on the left, we can see what a manicured, pristine stand of turf grass looks like. Even with the snow, it's more accepting. It looks even that much better. So not green grass. We don't have stripe action right now, but at least we can still show the neighbors, hey man, look, even when it snows, we get this every now and then. I'm still gonna get snow before you get snow. So it's still something. Jason, thanks so much for sending the pictures in, man. It was really good, because when he first sent the pictures to me, I looked at it and I was like, how on earth did he do that? Did he go out and blow the snow off his neighbor's lawn? Or I don't understand how does his lawn have snow before everyone else's? And we had a little back and forth, and he explained. He said, oh yeah, my neighbor's lawns are a lot higher than mine, so it's just the accumulation shows up a lot sooner on mine than theirs. So very cool. Again, thanks for sending the pictures. Really neat shot. Nice work. So we'll see if it how it does in your area. Hopefully the snow is just a little passing thing. We get to take some pictures and enjoy it, but then we can get on to onto the better time of the year, onto the fun part. All right. Next up, we have my son. He has a question. Let me get in here and grab that really quick. I saw you asked it twice, so I'll take the latter one. He says, hey, Ron, does it matter if I do my soil test in January? Would the cold affect my results? I live in Texas. Thanks in advance. Nope, not at all. You can do your soil test now. I mean, if you wanted to wait until next month, till February to do it, that would be okay too. What I would recommend is this, right? If you're going to use prodiamine as your pre-emergent and you're going to be using it in granular form, a lot of the pre-emergents, the granular pre-emergents that contain prodiamine as the active ingredient, some of them are weed and feed type products where they have a percentage of them that has potassium in there. So if you didn't want that to be reflected in your soil test results, it would make sense that you would pull your samples prior to putting that out. That's what I would recommend. But outside of that, doesn't really matter. As a matter of fact, I've already done my soil testing. I did it yesterday. You guys probably saw a short video that I put out. My soil tests were going to go out today, but this is my envelope. My sample's in here to send out to the guys at Predictive Nutrient Solutions or My Soil. But because of the snow, there was no mail service today, so my sample is sitting here on my desk. It will hopefully go out tomorrow if if mail service starts running again, or I may have to run to the post office, assuming that they're open. But yeah, I already done mine for the season, for the year. Really, the soil's not going to change a whole lot between, as far as nutrient levels anyway, between now and March or so, whenever you begin feeding it, depending on where you are. You're in Texas, so if you're in South Texas, March timeframe, you're likely going to start putting some fertilizer out, and there's not going to be a massive change between now and then. Again, the only thing I would really recommend is if you're going to use a granular pre-emergent product, that's like a 007. So I'll give you an example here. If you were to go to shop and weed killer on the golf course lawn store and look at our carefully curated pre-emergent section, right? Either one of these guys, Dimension or the prodiamine, either one of these, you'll see that there's 7% potassium in them. Now, it's not a ton, but if you want to make sure that your results are as accurate as possible, you wouldn't want to go put this out and then a day or two later go out and pull cores, right? You'd want to grab your soil cores prior to putting out anything with any of the macros in it, so you don't skew the results slightly. But that's the only consideration I would tell you to really make, Myson. So good question. Really, really do appreciate that. And, that's a great talking point for the shows. One of the things I wanted to cover this evening is what can you be doing this time of year? It's a question you guys often have, right? It's January timeframe, outside of just doing your prep work, right? And, having your plans for your major plans for the season, as far as, top dressing or any kind of renovation work. What can you be doing in January or February timeframe to get ready for next year? And the thing one, whether you do it now or you do it next month, is soil testing. I sound like a broken drum when I say this, but really, some of the best $30 you can spend in your lawn care program is getting a soil test done. So the one that I use is the one from My Soil. The most important thing I would tell you is, if you use an extension office or you use some other company that does soil testing, just stick with the same one, because what you want is for the results to come from ideally from the same lab, so you're comparing apples to apples, right? If you go out and you get a sample from your local extension office, and then you get a result from My Soil, and then you go get one from somewhere else, even though the overall nutrient curve is going to be about the same, the actual levels, the way that they're measured might be a bit different. So pick one and stick with it. I'm a big fan of My Soil for the reason that my soil test data stays in their portal. So I've got soil test results going back to, I think, 2020. At least 4 years, 2020 or 2021, which is really nice. So I can see how the soil changes over time, and I don't have to keep a bunch of sheets of paper around to be able to remember, like, here's what my January last year one looked like, or what my fall soil test looked like. They're all captured there in the portal for me. So yeah, thing I'd recommend is plan to do a soil test. They're really not that expensive. It's a great investment in your lawn care program, because it answers the question that all you guys are inevitably going to ask of which fertilizer is the best for my particular lawn. And the only way to truly answer that is with soil test data. Otherwise, you're just guessing, and you may guess right. But given the price of fertilizer and also your time, why not make sure you have the correct data, so that when you're putting something out, it's a great match. And by doing that, getting a great lawn, growing really healthy turf grass is kind of a byproduct. You almost can't help but grow a great lawn if you're putting the right inputs in, right? So would highly recommend that. And then the other thing I'd say to plan for is pre-emergent. We carry a lot of post-emergent herbicides on the golf course lawn store. So when you got weeds already in your lawn, we got stuff to be able to help out with that. But I will tell you, some of the best money you can spend outside of soil testing is pre-emergent. Like, case in point, I'll show you. Let's walk with me here. Walk with me. So you look at a bag of pre-emergent. If you go to get Dimension, you're talking, $76 delivered to your door for 12,000 square foot of coverage. If we go back and you get prodiamine, you can save $5, right? So 16 for $70 as far as for 16,000 square foot of coverage. So you may look at that and be like, well, that seems like a lot, but look at what it costs to kill weeds after the fact, right? Let's say you have a larger lawn like mine, and you decide you need to clean up some broadleaf weeds. Now, when you start stepping into post-emergent herbicides, the pricing gets a lot more expensive. You know what I mean? And this is just for broadleaves. You got like sedges and nutsedge, and a lot of the other common difficult to control weeds. Certainty enters. So the long and short of it is that it's far it is far cheaper to to allow pre-emergent to do a lot of the heavy lifting to prevent weeds in your lawn in the first place versus doing nothing and then having to rely on post-emergent herbicides. Now, you will still likely have a little bit of breakthrough here and there, like particularly along like any kind of hardscapes like driveways, sidewalks. You're probably going to still have some weeds that come in there. Like for example, on my lawn, even when I do pre-emergent in the springtime, when I get to June-ish or so, due to the fact that that area gets edged a lot, so the barrier, the pre-emergent barrier gets disturbed, I tend to get spurge along like the edge of like sidewalks or driveways, right? So in that case, yeah, a little bit of Celsius surfactant will clean that up. But you want to be able to structure your program such that you can use post-emergent herbicides sparingly. Reason one being, one, they're expensive, and then second, as far as the reducing the chance of injury to your lawn, if you can use pre-emergent, your need for post-emergent herbicides is going to be reduced, and overall, you're just going to be able to spend your time in doing the stuff you really enjoy, right? Mowing your grass, having people drive by and asking you questions as far as how your lawn looks as good as it does, that kind of stuff. So I'd say soil testing is one thing you should be considering doing this year. I also almost would consider that mandatory. And then second, plan for pre-emergent. The one that I would recommend, there's really two options. You can go with either prodiamine or dimension. Those are both excellent choices. Reason being, if I had to pick one of the two, I mean, either would work well, but if I had to pick one for the spring, I like dimension because when the one advantage it has over prodiamine is whenever you have crabgrass beginning to germinate, dimension, or the active ingredient in dimension, is called as a chemical called dithiopyr. It has the ability to prevent and also control or kill young crabgrass. So of the two, they're both excellent products. This is probably a bit better option for a spring pre-emergent, although either of them will work well. So whichever one you can get your hands on, whichever your budget will support, get one of these two, apply it, water it in, and then a lot of the heavy lifting as far as keeping weeds out of your lawn is going to be done. So that's, if you want something to be thinking about and planning for this time of year, that would be it. So if you're looking for pre-emergent, we carry them and we've got them here in stock, ready to ship to your door on the Golf Course Lawn Store. All right, we have a super chat. Let's grab that one really quick. This one is from Mr. Dan Lynch. What's going on, Dan? Thank you so much, sir.
Super chat received.
Appreciate you. I don't see any questions so far. Actually, I do see a question from you, Dan. Let me go up here and grab that really quick. So again, thank you for all the love and support, sir. And then he has a question. He says, I use Spectacle Flow in the fall. Planning on using liquid prodiamine in the spring. When and how do I put it down? Great question, Dan. So, you're using Spectacle in the fall. It's a great choice for a fall/winter pre-emergent. And then if you're going to use prodiamine in the springtime, that will work well too. As far as when to apply it, this is a good question. The most accurate answer is before the average 5-day soil temperature in your area is in the mid 50s. So whenever I see, the soil temps are, high 40s, low 50s, and that's going to be the trend for the next 5 days or so, that is when, I get my pre-emergent out. So in my case, that tends to be, February-ish timeframe. What I'll tell you is there's no reason to, in my opinion, there's no reason to really wait until soil temps are at 55 degrees. When it comes to pre-emergent, a little bit early is better than a little bit late because it's kind of in the name. For it to work properly, you need to have it applied, have it watered in, have it in the soil profile prior to the weeds emerging. So if you're a week or two early, it's no really big deal. No big deal, because you figure most of these products, again, prodiamine and dimension, they're good for 3 to 4 months of protection. So even if you were to get it out, a week or two from now, that's still going to carry you into late spring. In my area, there's already trucks rolling, already spraying pre-emergent. Like a lot of the big services are already spraying. Now, some of that is due to the fact they have hundreds of lawns they have to cover, so they have to get started a bit earlier. But what I would take away from that is that I walk the neighborhood, I drive the neighborhood, kind of seeing who's doing what and how their lawns are coming along. And even the lawns that are sprayed in January with pre-emergent, they still look great all season. They still look great all spring and summer. They still, so even if you're a bit early, it's still going to be just fine. What I would not do is wait until, again, soil temps are in the 50 or high 50s and be like, oh, it's warm now I can go put pre-emergent out. I really wouldn't do that. There's no real advantage, in my opinion, to that. So a bit early, always better than a little bit late when it comes to pre-emergent. In your area in Texas, if you wanted to delay it as much, but still be way ahead of the curve, you could plan for some time in February. I've done pre-emergent on my lawn as early as the last week of this month of January with great results. I've done it in mid February, also with great results. So it's really, really your call. But the most correct answer is before the average soil temps in your area are in the mid 50s, because that's when the weeds that are a pain in the neck to control, like crabgrass, begin germinating. So that's when I would say is when you want to get your pre-emergent out. So plan for like next month, and you'll be good to go. Now, as far as how to spray, apply liquid prodiamine, good question. There's a couple different schools of thought on this. I can tell you how I do it, and I can tell you how. I'll give you both options, and I'll tell you how I do it. So on Bermuda grass, which I believe is what you have, the annual limit for prodiamine is 0.83 ounces per 1,000 square feet, right? Meaning over a 12 month period, you've got that much to play with, right? So we'll call it like 0.8 to make it easy. You got 0.8 ounces of prodiamine over a 12-month period. That's your allocation to be able to put into the soil. Now, your options could be, you could split it. So you could spray prodiamine at say 0.40, so half your allocation, say in February, and then you could wait until Aprilish time frame and then spray the other half, the other 0.40. There's some people that do that. They do like a split application of it to try and extend that coverage a little bit more. Or you can spray it at higher rates, somewhere between 0.6 and 0.8 one time, and that will also work as well too. I've done both, and because I personally, on my lawn anyway, and on other folks' lawn that I've recommended this to, have not seen a huge difference between the two. I tend to spray one time at the higher end of the application rate. So if you look at any of my videos on mixing prodiamine, you'll see I often show mixing it at 0.80 ounces, but really anywhere between 0.6 and 0.8 per 1,000 is where you're going to want to go. So if you are going to do the limit, what that works out to with a 4-gallon sprayer covering 4,000 square feet is you would have 4 gallons of water with 3.2 ounces of prodiamine, and get that suspended, and then go spray the lawn over 4,000 square feet. And when I say 3.2 ounces, prodiamine comes, I don't have any of it here to show you, but it comes in it's a water dispersible granule. It's like little yellow pellets. So what you would do is get like a cup like this and put it on an accurate scale, zero the scale, and then add 3.2 ounces of prodiamine, mix that with 4 gallons of water, and spray that over 4,000 square feet. If you wanted to add, again, like a dye or something to be able to see, where you're spraying, what kind of coverage you're getting, like that would be important. Good idea as well too. And then last thing I would tell you is that since you're going to be spraying liquids, is spray tip selection. So there's 2 major spray tip types that I use when it comes to spraying products on my lawn. I use a foliar or a fan type spray, which produces a fine droplet size. And then I also use a flood jet tip, which produces a coarser or a larger droplet size, which would be the correct spray tip to use for anything going in the soil, like pre-emergent. So if you, I can put the links here in the chat for you, but if you can get yourself a flood jet tip, I'll link it here in the chat, something like this. And this is the orientation that you would have it set on. You have your wand here, and then the notch is firing straight down. And then that is going to do, if I get this to focus, will do an excellent job putting out, spraying your pre-emergent. So I think that is it as far as tips for you. Obviously, once you're done, water it in, and then you're good. You're good really until the fall, when you have to apply pre-emergent again, your spectacle flow, and just mow your grass and enjoy a largely weed-free lawn. So hope that's helpful for you, sir. I think I got everything. Again, thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate it, and because I think you're our only super chat currently, that also makes you, Dan, the show sponsor. So there you go, your name in lights for whatever that means to you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for the support, sir. All right. Moving on to where we left off, one of the hardest parts of talking and also being the producer at the same time. All right, next up we got Mr. Brick Rehab. He says, "Really, Ron, your show is on while the Cotton Bowl is playing." I think it starts at 7:30, right? But yeah, but you're right. I mean, it's 7. Look, man, I was doing the live stream, you knew it was going to be 7 o'clock tonight prior to the Cotton Bowl being tonight on, at 7:30. So I would say that I should take precedence. You can have us both on at the same time. You know what I mean? I mean, hopefully just Texas gets it done. Because if not, I'm just going to turn off college football until next year. I'm not going to watch. I don't even care. I am a Texas fan though, through and through. They got to get it done. I just want someone to beat Notre Dame because they put Georgia out. So they got to, whoever beats Notre Dame is good by me, and hope it's either going to be Ohio or Texas. And so hopefully it will be Texas. Hopefully Texas can get it done. We shall see. All right. Brick Rehab says, looks like I'm multitasking. Well, yeah, man, you can have me on like your phone or iPad or computer screen, laptop, and you can have the game on too. Yeah, you can do both. All right. Next up is Adam Stark says, this is better than the Cotton Bowl. Well, I appreciate that. I'm not sure everyone would agree, but I appreciate the sentiment, Adam. I'll do my best to try and make it as interesting as I can. All right. Next up is James Kelly. He says, need to use calcium chloride or magnesium chloride. They're gentler on lawns, less damaging the plants than rock salt, but used sparingly. I'm not sure what the question was for that one. I guess maybe someone asked you that, James, because that's not for me. All right. But next up, we have No Name. He says, Ron, you should have shot a new promo with the snow today. Yeah, I thought about taking the first part of the intro video where I'm over the lawn with the drone shot and cutting in the footage I just showed you guys. I was like, this is it'd be literally for like one live stream. It's like, too much work. I'm not gonna do it. It's okay. I'm not gonna dig it out and mess with it. So I thought about it, No Name. I did. All right. So next up we have Sovereign Designs. He says, good evening, Ron. Hope all is well. I can't complain, man. You know how it is. The snow's doing what it does, and hopefully it goes away here soon. It may or may not keep me away from karate tomorrow. I'm not sure if they're going to cancel or not, because just for safety reasons, if folks get in there, you don't want anyone to get hurt. But yeah, that'd be the only bummer. I got my soil test done, which is that. Yay for that, right? I just need the weather to cooperate so I can get it to the mail service so they can come get it, right? So yeah, there is that. All right, No Name says, hey, Ron and fellow lawn enthusiasts, looking forward to some great lawn chat. My snow-covered lawn is now ice-covered. That's the thing, is it snowed for the first part of this morning, and then it stopped, and it started raining, and it's, I don't know what the temperature is right now. It's cold. It is, I will tell you, it is, yes, 32 degrees. So it's just at the cusp, just at the edge of what it needs for it to snow and to have it actually stick. But yeah, if it rains and then gets to be freezing tonight, that's when it's going to be dangerous, right? Because you'll ice covered roads. It's a lot worse than just snow. But we'll see. It will. This too shall pass. No Name says, let's get those likes up. Let's do that, guys. We got 108 folks in the live stream. I realize it's a cold night, probably where you are. So if you're enjoying the show, hit that like button. It's a free way to support the content. Now, even though, again, this time of year, we're getting some unfortunate snowfall. Again, this was my lawn this morning. This will be behind us soon. Soon you guys will hopefully be getting your soil test done, be putting out pre-emergent, and then, the domination will begin. The race will begin to see who can have the best lawn on your particular street. So don't let the fact that, that's what you're looking at right now, let that get you down. That's going to be temporary. At least if you're in Georgia, if you're in the Southeast, if you're Chicago, New York, Jersey, probably going to be a thing for a while. But if you're, down here, it's going to be one or two days out of the year for us, and then we'll move on. All right, next up is Andre Taylor. He says, evening, Ron, and all. Had my first taste of Georgia snow today. However, luckily, I still had my snow shovel from NYC. Yeah, it's funny. The neighbor across the street they were shoveling their driveway. And I was like, man, I don't even own a snow shovel. And it's one of those things, it's probably a bad idea to have to own one. I don't want to have to, it shouldn't snow often enough to where I actually should need it. And if I need to get out, I have my rig has 4-wheel drive, so I can just, it's part of the fun, right? You can just slide down the driveway and down the street. I'm more likely to get myself hurt shoveling the driveway than I am just driving out of it. So yeah, or just stay home till it melts, right? There's that too. All right, next up is John Gotch. He says, my last 2 years of soil samples have shown that my nitrogen is low, but I drop Milorganite heavy each and every month from March to September. I'm in South Louisiana. What should I do? Well, keep in mind, Milorganite, John, while it's a great product, if memory serves me, it's only like 6% nitrogen, which is not a lot. It's not a lot of N. So you might consider moving up to like a blended product that has a bit more nitrogen in it. I can show you what I use on my lawn. This is the one that does the primary lifting throughout the season is a fertilizer called Humic Max. So this is 1608, 16% nitrogen, 8% potassium. It's also got some humic acid in there, some kelp. This is a great product. Again, this is what I primarily use on my lawn. And as far as building up nutrient levels in the soil, it's going to do a better job than what Milo does. Also, the cost per application, if you look at what one of these bags cover compared to what Milo covers and what you're paying for it, that's a much, in my opinion, much better deal. And it's a superior product in many ways. So that's the thing I'd say. What you're putting into the soil just probably isn't enough nitrogen for it to really build those levels up. Now having said that, if you like Milo and you're getting good results with it, meaning if the lawn looks good, you like the way the lawn looks with it, and you want to stick with that, you can. But I would consider, I would consider Humic Max. I mean, folks that have tried it have gotten great results on it. Again, it's what I personally use on my lawn. It's a great product. So, consider that. If you want an organic fertilizer, maybe that's why you're using Milo. Another option is the 444 from Miramichi. This was released last year, I believe. But again, you can see a common theme with the more organic fertilizers is the amount of macronutrient like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium is going to be in them is going to be quite a bit lower. So what I would say, if you're looking to raise nutrient levels, I would lean towards something that's more of a synthetic type blend, like Humic Max would be my my recommendation. Again, it's what I use on my lawn. Like as far as I'll tell you my how I do my season. When I start with granular fertilizer, which in most cases for me is in March, the first fertilizer that I will use is a Stress 12024. I like a bit higher potassium to open the season up, as the lawn is transitioning from cooler weather into warmer weather. And then from April all the way through to October, it's going to be Humic Max. So this guy once a month, and then at the end of the season, so October going into November, it'll be the 12024 again. So the high potassium fertilizer sort of behaves as like the bookends, and then in between, as far as granular goes, I use Humic Max, a 1608. Great result, great results with it. It doesn't have so much nitrogen that you're pushing a bunch of growth, but it's again a nice blend that produces really good color, great results. So that's what I'd recommend that you give a shot. Okay, moving on, we now have Mr. Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy in the house. He says, "Happy Friday, Ron. Just sent the GM 1000 off to get sharpened this morning. Inching closer to the growing season here in Florida. Nice. I like it." So you're ahead of the curve, Sean. That's a smart move. You're not waiting till like March and you realize, you know what? I've got a real mower in the garage and it needs maintenance and I need to send my stuff out. That's something I need to get done. I'm not going to get the Revolution sharpened just yet because I'm going to do a few more cuts on the lawn. And this month I might do a little cleanup cut, get it ready, and then I'll send it in to get sharpened to the folks at Real Rollers, get them take care of it. But you're right, my Greens Master can get that freshened up, and the Owlet, even though it's still in pretty good shape, I'll likely get it freshened up as well too. Now's a great time of year to get that done. So whatever shop you're using can take their time with it. They're not rushing. You don't really need it. So, if you wait till like March when everyone wants to get theirs done, then it's just not, they're going to, I'm just saying the shop's going to be rushing, but you want them to be able to take the time, get the equipment set up properly, get it sharpened properly, get any kind of maintenance you need done. If you need parts, you have time to get that done. You know what I mean? So doing it now in January, smart, really smart. I like it. All right. D&D Lawn Care LLC says, "Can I give my St. Augustine the same treatment as a golf course, a lawn minus the real mowing?" In some ways, yes. So as far as can you get a St. Augustine lawn to look incredible? Yeah. I mean, if you look at like Alan's lawn, Alan Hain, Lawn Care Net's lawn, it's spectacular looking St. Augustine lawn. The thing I'd say is you're obviously not going to be real mowing it. You're going to use a rotary mower. So making sure that every couple of weeks, once a month, at the worst case scenario, you're sharpening it and making sure that blade is nice and sharp. Because St. Augustine, as far as warm season grasses go, St. Augustine is pretty susceptible to disease. Brown, large patch being like something that you tend to have a lot of problems with. So keeping your equipment sharp, really important to keeping a St. Augustine lawn healthy. Outside of real mowing, and as far as the program would go, you could still use like the same fertilizers that we use on Bermuda and zoysia grass and on really cool season grasses. You could use those same thing on St. Augustine. Really, the only difference, the only thing you really want to be careful with St. Augustine is really your herbicide selection. So as far as liquid fertilizer, as far as the granular fertilizers I use and we recommend, liquid fertilizers that we use and recommend, and the biostimulants, all that will work fine on St. Augustine. The one area that you have to be careful with is herbicides. So if you had, say, crabgrass in a St. Augustine lawn, whereas for Bermuda and zoysia, I'd say go out and get some quinclorac, which is really arguably the best post-emergent herbicide for controlling crabgrass in a lawn. You really can't use that on St. Augustine or centipede, right? You'd have to use something like Celsius to get rid of crabgrass in a St. Augustine lawn. So those are the kinds of considerations you have to make. But if again, I'll point you towards something that you'll probably find useful here. On the Golf Course Lawn Store, we have a lawn care schedule. So if you go to resources and then lawn care schedule, and then down to the monthly application schedule, pretty much this lays out what I recommend that folks do month by month. This has been used for several years by folks all over the country with cool season lawns, warm season lawns, and they've gotten great results with it. The only areas that are optional, like you see here in February, I say like a pre-scalp to the lawn, meaning if you have like a zoysia lawn or a Bermuda lawn, if you want to scalp it to get that reset, get a lot of the old debris and thatch out, it's useful for that, which is why it's listed as optional. Like you wouldn't do that to St. Augustine, you really wouldn't do that to a cool season lawn, but pretty much everything else here would hold. As far as the timing behind your fertilizer app, your if you're doing core aeration, a great time to do it. When you're starting to use growth regulator, all that would apply when you're applying the preventative fungicide program. So that's going to be really important for you with St. Augustine. Is in the month of May, the beginning of May, and also the beginning of June is when we recommend putting out a preventative fungicide. The only time you'd really make a change to that is, let's say your lawn has a history of disease and it starts, the problems start showing up earlier in the year, let's say March timeframe or April timeframe, you're starting to see problems in your lawn. In that case, you would move your fungicide application back a little bit earlier in the season, because really disease problems in a lawn, much like insect damage, you want to prevent it more so than wait for the problem to show up and then treat it after the fact. Because once you see it, you put out a fungicide to arrest the spread of whatever's going on. You're still looking at on a good time frame, 2 to 3 weeks before that area is really healed and recovered. So better just avoid the problem in the first place, especially on a St. Augustine lawn, by getting a preventative fungicide out. And again, I'll link this for you in the chat as far as the calendar. Again, it works great. Again, lawns, cool season and warm season lawns, folks all over the country follow this with really good results. So hopefully that helps, sir. Yeah, the program really would work for you. The only thing you're really going to have to be careful with was when it comes to post-emergent herbicides. And also, if you're using, say, something like Spectacle Flow as your pre-emergent in the fall, you're going to want to back the rates down. Like you can go quite a bit heavier as far as application rate on a Bermuda and zoysia lawn than you can on, say, St. Augustine or centipede. So you're going to want to, just read the label, obviously, and adjust the rate accordingly. But outside of that, again, primarily related to herbicides, it's going to be pretty much the same. So hope that helps, sir. If you need anything else, let me know. All right. Next up, we have Mars Beads chiming in. She says, Happy Snow Friday. Happy Snow Friday, Mars. Hopefully you are doing all right. Thank you for taking some time to stop by in the live stream and say hello. I appreciate you as always. Thanks so much for taking the time to come hang out. And then next we got Mower Blade Service. So I guess you work on mower blades. He says, missed my fall pre-emergent app. Man, okay, why? Why did you miss your fall pre-emergent app, man? This is terrible. And here are the results. And I already have chickweed, handbit, and a touch of POA. Still hit it with prodiamine this spring or go on the offensive. 8A. So yes, you would still use prodiamine in the spring. It's not going to do a whole lot against what you're dealing with right now. So for the weeds that are actively growing, for the Poa annua, handbit, and the chickweed, what I'd really say is you could use a combination of Certainty for the Poa annua And then for the broadleaf weeds, you can go with Celsius. So for POA, you're going to have to spray Celsius at the higher rate. Sorry, certainty at the higher rate. The label calls or gives a range of 1.25 ounces per acre up to 2 ounces per acre. What that equates to, pretty much, I can just, you're like, well, how much is that, Ron? It's kind of useful, but it's not really useful. Is with certainty, there's a measuring scoop included, right? Like this. And there's two sides to it. There's a big side and a small side. Small side, big side. One of the big scoops equates to about 1 1/4 ounces. So for POA annua, what I have found is unless you've got like young baby POA, one large scoop over 1,000 square feet, the lower end of the range that they recommend for POA annua, isn't really going to get it done. What you're going to want to do is do 2 large scoops over 1,000 square feet, and make sure you use surfactant along with it, spreader sticker, and that's going to do a pretty good job against the POA annua. So you could do is certainty at 2 ounces per acre. So again, 2 large scoops per 1,000 square feet. Now, if you dilute that with 1 gallon of water or 2 gallons of water, it's really up to you. I do 1 gallon. And then Celsius, depending on you said you chickweed and henbit. Depending on the maturity of it, you probably can get by with like the medium, the middle rate, but check the label because there'll be guidance. It'll recommend a given rate for the weed that you're trying to control. But again, you can put this, and this, like these, all in the tank at the same time and spray them, and you can clean up that chickweed, henbit, and POA annua. The chickweed and the henbit aren't going to be really tough. POA annua is the one that you really want to make sure that you're using certainty at the correct rates to be able to get a good result. And make sure you surfactant with it. If you don't have those, we have a kit on the Golf Course Lawn Store that has all of them. So if you go to shop and then weed killer, we have a kit that'll cover you for well over, I think it's covers almost 2 acres. So you get Celsius, certainty, dye, surfactant, again, covers between 72,000 and 130,000 square feet, depending on the rates that you're using. So, you'll have plenty of product for years, and that will get you all squared away. But based on what you're recommending or what you're dealing with there, that is what I would, I'd recommend mower blade service. So sorry you're dealing with that. It stinks, but there is a way. There's a way forward, and I'll link it here in the chat for you, so you will you'll have it. I'm not sure if it's clickable for you on Instagram, but if you go to Golf Course Lawn Store, you'll be able to find it there. All right. Next up, we have Mace. It says, hey, Ron, Happy New Year. What can I do living in, I guess, northeastern New England, one of the two? I guess it's kind of one of the same. Especially for pre-emergent, I used some tenacity in October. I also pulled weeds and replaced the turf with loam and seed from Jonathan Green Black Beauty, where I need in general. Thanks. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly the question. I guess when it comes to, if the question is around pre-emergent, if you recently seeded the lawn, which it sounds like you did last year in October, you're really going to want to avoid pre-emergent. You really are. Like tenacity is not a bad product to use as like a mild pre-emergent as part of a seeding project, but it's not going to work as well as prodiamine or dimension. But given that you got a relatively newly seeded lawn, you're not going to even want to really do pre-emergent in the spring unless you're wanting to, potentially tolerate some damage. And if the plan is that the lawn isn't fully filled in to where you may need to overseed again, say in March, April timeframe, again, you're not going to want to have any pre-emergent in the soil because it's going to negatively affect that. So what I would tell you is you're going to be on that post-emergent life as far as controlling weeds, like spot spraying here and there. If it's assuming that it's so bad that you can't just pull it, like pulling the weeds like manually, that would be my first recommendation. But if you got like clumps of weeds here and there, you can spot spray those weeds with like with tenacity, with a 2,4-D, like a 3-way, depending on what the weeds you're dealing with. You got sedges, you can use sedge hammer. But that would be it. Really, you're going to want to avoid pre-emergent on your lawn, given that, in the relatively recently you just seeded it. And that, I imagine, is more your priority, getting the lawn established more so than preventing weeds. So hopefully that helps. Great question. Hopefully the lawn grows in nicely for you in the springtime. But yeah, keep us posted as far as how it does. And that's kind of par for the course, man. That's kind of the way it works. When you kind of get to, you have to choose one. You have to choose, do you want the benefits of pre-emergent from a standpoint of preventing weeds, or do you want to have the option to overseed or seed, establish a new lawn from seed? Because you really need to choose one or the other, because if you put out pre-emergent, it's going to negatively affect your seeding project. If you don't use pre-emergent, then you are more than likely going to have more weed pressure to have to deal with. But you have to kind of pick which one is more important. And for most people, getting the lawn established is the one that is is the choice they're going to make. So hope that helps, sir. Next up is Adam Stark. Says, hey, Ron, I hope all is well. Do you prefer liquid or granular pre-emergent? Dimension. If you're doing dimension, either one can work. We don't carry dimension in liquid form, but if you want to do liquid, that would be great. Liquid is cool for a lot of reasons. As far as being able to have tighter control over the application rate, liquid, in my opinion, is superior. And then most importantly, if you're going to mix anything else with it, let's say you're going to put out, I don't know, if you're putting out a fertilizer, like a soil-based fertilizer or something, or you're spraying, you got some weeds already in the lawn, so you want to add like some post-emergent herbicide to go along with it. Liquids give you the option to do that, whereas with granular, you cannot. Also with liquids, the cost per application tends to be less than what you would pay for a granular product. So if you got a sprayer and you're not afraid of a little bit of math, liquids are in many ways the better option. They're going to be more cost effective. You're going to have more options, and they're going to produce a great result. So given the choice, liquids. I've done granular. I've done both on my lawn as far as my spring pre-emergent, because I tend to, again, I either use like dimension or prodiamine. If I go out with prodiamine, which I'm deciding I'm going to do, which one I'm going to do this year as yet, it will more than likely be liquid because I've got a bunch of that. If I go and do dimensioned or dithiopyr, I'll do granular because I've got some of that laying around. So just really either one can work well. The advantage of liquids is just tighter control of our application rate. And then most importantly, if you're trying to mix anything else with it, like most commonly post-emergent herbicides, it's much easier to do that, or it's possible, I should even say, it's possible to do that with liquids, or it's really not possible to do that with a granular. So hope that helps, Adam. Either way is going to work well though for you. So just big thing is follow the application rates, apply it properly, water it in when you're done, and enjoy. Enjoy, sir. All right, next up, we have Cody. Cody is in the live stream. He says, good evening from Marietta, Ron. Already dreaming of the scalp. This is my first year scalping with a reel mower. Nice, nice. Okay, so that's a good point, Cody. And I talked about reel mower maintenance and getting all your equipment sharpened up and getting ready for the next year, for this upcoming season. If you are planning to scalp your lawn and you're planning on scalping your lawn using a reel mower, delay sending the mower in to get it serviced, because depending on how aggressive you're going to go with the scalp, it can be pretty hard on the reel and bed knife to where the mower will likely need to be sharpened or freshened up once you're done with that process. So if you're going to be using your reel mower, get the scalp done and then send it in for service. As far as timing when you can do that, end of this month, sometime in February, if you want, is you can do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then if you want to do a little cleanup cut in March, you can too. I've scalped my lawn again in early Feb all the way through into March. I've played with it different times of year. All of them produce, fairly equal results for the most part. The one positive to getting it done earlier is that it tends to be less work. It's because it's cooler out. And then if you need to send your mower in to get it serviced, you've got more time versus if you wait till like March timeframe to do it, then like you're in there with everyone else trying to get your stuff serviced at the same time. So you have similar climate as me, being that you're in Marietta. So I look at doing it, end of this month, early next month, get that done, or get the heavy lifting part of it done, and then send your equipment in to get it cleaned up. That's what I would say. Good stuff, sir. All right, next up we have Earl West. Not Earl East, but Earl West. He says, hey, Ron, here in Georgia as well, can you do a liquid and granular pre-emergent? Could you? Technically, yes. Would I? No, I wouldn't. I mean, really, you don't need, in other words, I wouldn't go out and do pre-diamine and then go out and do dimension like right afterward. Like pick one or the other. As long as you're applying it at the proper rates, you're applying it properly, like evenly, and you're watering it in. That's all you really need. There's no need to go out and apply, pre-diamine, like a granular pre-diamine, and go out and spray dimension, or vice versa. The only thing that I would really stack with a pre-emergent, and it's only if your lawn needs it, is if you've got some weeds that have already started growing in your lawn and you want to be able to clean those up at the same time as putting out your pre-emergent, adding a little bit of post-emergent herbicide along with that, like that would be okay. But like doing multiple pre-emergents in the springtime, I don't see a ton of reason for that. I guess one exception might be, exception to that, not for the spring, but more so for the fall, would be if you're trying to control Poa annua and you're not using spectacle. If you're using this can stand by itself. You don't really need anything else. But if you are looking to control Poa annua in the fall, mixing simazine along with prodiamine can be a good combination to help control Poa annua in the fall. But in the springtime, just pick one or the other. Go either dimension or go with prodiamine. Apply at the proper rates, and then you're good to go. I really wouldn't do both. I have not found it to be necessary, Earl. As long as you're applying them properly, and you should be, again, just saves money. You're not putting as much chemical into the soil, and you'll get a good result. All right, Mr. Tom Hoffenkamp has entered the live stream. He says, hello, all happy Friday. Last spring, Dimension kept the lawn clean till December. Very impressed. Thick lawn helped, I'm sure. Zero post all season. Very nice. Honestly, I hope to use something. My Celsius got bored. Nice. So there you go. A well-timed and well-executed pre-emergent application. Case in point, what Tom just said, does a lot of the heavy lifting as far as keeping weeds out of your lawn. Now, you apply your pre-emergent, you water it in at the right time, so prior to the weeds that you're trying to control are growing in, and then you focus on growing a really healthy stand of turf grass. So what does that mean? You're fertilizing properly, you're mowing regularly, you're doing all the things to help get the lawn nice and thick, because a thick lawn makes it much more difficult for weeds to establish in the first place. Like the lawn will literally just outcompete the weeds that are trying to establish. So great point, Tom. Thanks for chiming in. I'm glad to hear you got great results. Dimension, it's a good product. So yeah, as long as you apply it properly, you really shouldn't need to the previous person's question, Earl's question, you really shouldn't have to do two pre-emergents in the springtime. This was also why I might be personally, again, there's people that disagree with me on this and they'll do a different way of going about it. Why I will typically do one application at the heavier rate of, say, prodiamine in the spring, and then that just works well for me. I don't really need to do a split app. So, just, I guess, whatever works well for you, whatever you get good results with, stick with that. But I can just share what I've done and what's done well for me. All right, next up is Squid Vicious. He says, good afternoon, Ron. What's going on, Squid Vicious? Hopefully you're doing all right. And then Julius Elias says, when should you scalp your lawn? Good question. So really, when you're getting towards the tail end of winter, so if you were my neighbor in Georgia, I would tell you could look at scalping your lawn anywhere between February timeframe into March timeframe. What scalping does is it gives the lawn a nice reset. It will help the lawn green up 2 to 3 weeks sooner than a lawn that has not been scalped. As far as if you're putting out pre-emergent, if you get your lawn scalped prior to putting out your pre-emergent, you're going to get better penetration into the soil versus if you did not do that. So there's a lot of benefits to doing it. Is it strictly necessary? No, but there's a lot of benefits to it, which is why it's something that I do on my lawn every year. Now, whether that scalping or that cleanup work comes from literally scalping it with a mower or doing multiple verticuts, light verticuts to help clean a lot of the debris out of the lawn, just to help thin it out, give it a nice little reset, that can work too. But yeah, as far as timing goes, I'm a fan of doing it prior to getting pre-emergent out in the spring. And if you were in the Southeast, I would tell you February, March timeframe. Any time in there would be good to get it done, Julius. All right, so good question. And as far as, actually we've got some content on lawn scalping that I can actually send your way. Let me find that blog post. I've got it here handy. I can dig it and send it to you. It's got it's got a video in it that will show that will talk about that shows me actually doing a scalping the lawn, and yeah, shows all the Talks about the pros and cons, like what kind of lawns should you scalp, which lawns should you not scalp. Answers the question, should you scalp your lawn in the early spring? So here you go. Here you go, Julius. In addition to what I said, I mean, pretty much just repeats what I just said, but in written form. And it's got a video of me doing it so you can see the amount of work you're signing up for. That video or that blog post will get you all squared away. All right, next up, Mr. Jimmy M. Miller is around. He says, evening, Ron. What's going on, Jimmy? Hopefully you're doing all right, sir. And then says, Gerald Sorrell says, International Longshoremen Association of 1248 Port Virginia. Support you, brother. I appreciate it. I didn't look that up. I guess, is it like a union of, I don't know, I'm not sure what longshoremen is, but at any rate, I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Thanks for taking the time to come and hang out in the live stream on a Friday night. I know there's other places you could be, but the fact that you chose to be here means a lot. All right. Next up is Tom Hoffenkamp. He says, thanks, Ron. I received my Essential G just in time. RIP Essential G. Yeah, so that's a good point. So what Tom is talking about is the biostimulant that we all know and love. It's been a staple on the golf course lawn store for a number of years, but it is going away and being replaced with a successor. So Essential G, which is what Tom is referring to, is the biostimulant that I've used for a number of years on my lawn. You know, tons of people have used it all over the country with excellent results. And we have less than 24 bags of this left at this price. So this is going to be replaced. Once those 24 bags are gone, it'll be replaced with a new product called carbonized PNG. The formulation is a little bit different. You're still going to get a good result with either one of them. The benefits of carbonized PNG, the product that's replacing it, is it has higher biochar content. It doesn't have the smell that Essential G has. So, and it has an updated microbial package that's in it compared to what's in Essential G. The advantages that Essential G has is that it has reclaimed coffee grounds, some humate in it, and also some silica, which the new product will not have. So they're both going to be excellent. You're just going to get a great result with either one of them. The one advantage that Essential G currently has, at least the 20-something bags that we got left, is that you can get it at this price, whereas the new product will not be at this price. It's going to be like $68. It's going to be $67.99, I think. So if you want to, get a biostimulant, an excellent granular biostimulant for this season, we got, again, like less than 24 bags left. So get it while you can, because once it's gone, it's gone. It's gone. And I don't want to hear you guys been saying, oh man, if you told me I would have gotten it. But because it's not like you're getting an inferior product. You're getting a different product. It's excellent. Again, I've used it on my lawn. I still got some of it in the garage. And the products replacing it is also going to be excellent too. Like carbonized PNG has got some cool advantages in the sense, the biggest one being the prill size. Miramichi has refined their process to make the prill quite a bit smaller. So it's going to, one of the complaints I'd say you hear people that will sometimes make about Essential G is you'll put it out and then it doesn't break down as quickly as they would have liked. Whereas in carbonized PNG, the new product that's going to be released, that has been solved. So 6 half a dozen, they're both excellent. You can't really go wrong with either. The one advantage of Essential G is that you can save some money on it while supplies last. And again, we've got it as a pinned comment left there in the live stream, assuming you're on YouTube. So feel free to take advantage of that, because once it is gone, it is gone. All right. Sabrina Cruz has entered the live stream. She says, hey, Ron, Poa annua is thriving in my overseeded perennial rye. Temps in the 60s right now. Shall I attempt to apply a post-emergent herbicide now, or wait until spring, until I spray out the rye in the spring? Thank you. Okay, so what I'm getting, Sabrina, is you got a Bermuda or a Zoysian. I'm guessing Bermuda. You've overseeded with it, perennial ryegrass. You got some Poa in it, and you're asking, should you take out the Poa now or wait till springtime? Here's the thing. Unfortunately, the post-emergent herbicide that is going to be really effective against that Poa annua, while also being safe for your warm season grass, is going to damage the ryegrass. So if you can live with it, I just would. I mean, and what you can do is when you get to March, April timeframe, when you're getting rid of the ryegrass overseed, what you would do is, while you could use Celsius, make sure you put some certainty in the tank. So this, at again 2 ounces per acre, is going to do a great job knocking out Poa annua. So 2 large scoops per 1,000 square feet. That's going to work well for getting rid of the ryegrass overseed, and also will help take care of the poa annua. And because it's just you're going to ding your ryegrass if you spray it now with any kind of post-emergent herbicide. So for me, I would just live with it. I mean, what else could you do? I'm not sure if the poa annua in your lawn, if it's throwing seed heads as yet, but the thing that really makes poa look ugly is when it's putting out seed heads. That's what really makes it stick out like a sore thumb. So what you can do is, if you want to use some growth regulator like Primo, one of the advantages of Primo Max is that it helps, in addition to slowing down growth, is that it's excellent for seed head suppression. So the white flowers that you tend to see in poa annua, which is what makes it really stick out in your lawn, this will help prevent that. It helps suppress poa annua's ability to throw those. I mean, you'd probably still get some, but not nearly as much as if you didn't use a growth regulator. So if you're looking for something to do, that would be all I'd recommend. I mean, I would stay away from herbicides. I really don't want you to ding, your overseeded lawn. Only I'd recommend is then, you could go out with some Primo, and that would be the way to go to hide, to kind of mask the poa annua in your lawn. That'd be the best. Or just live with it until March, April, and get rid of it along with the ryegrass. That would be another option too. So if you want to dig into it, Primo, fortunately, is not that expensive. So we've got it in stock on the Golf Course Lawn Store. I just linked it for you. So hopefully that helps. You got to send pictures, man. Here's the thing. You know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start demanding this. Any of you folks that are overseeding your Bermuda lawns, your warm season lawns with ryegrass, you chime in, hey, man, I got my lawns overseeded and I got this going on. You got to start sending us pictures, because right now, this is what I'm working with, man. That's what I'm dealing with. And when it's not covered in snow, right now it's brown and dormant. So I need to live vicariously through you guys. I gotta have some encouragement. And, an overseeded Bermuda lawn, I'm sure, is going to look a lot better than my current dormant lawn. So if you got, pictures of your lawn overseeded, you need to start sending those in. You can send your pictures to ron@golfcourselawn.com, and I will show them off on the show, and everyone can ooh and ah over the fact that you got green grass while everyone else doesn't. So hope that helps, Sabrina. Great question. Honestly, I would just either live with it, or if you want to try some Primo, you can. The good thing is that, Primo is still useful even whenever the Bermuda comes out of dormancy and starts growing. You can use it on the Bermuda too, but that's about as far as I would go. I just really wouldn't risk, all the work you've put into getting your ryegrass overseed established by trying to get rid of the poa. I wouldn't. Jimmy Miller says, Ron, since you did not take any shots of your lawn in snow, I took some mine for you, complete with ducks on the pond. Yeah, I did. I took some pictures of it, man. There you go. Look, there's a picture one. There's that, and then there's picture 2, all covered in snow. And I even got video. I got video of it as well too, so you can see, how it looks, all covered in snow. I got you covered, man. All right, next up is Sovereign Designs. It looks like Michigan there. We got a few inches here again. That's got to be, to put it in perspective. It's always a matter of perspective in life, right? Because I look at it and I say, oh, we're in Georgia. We got how many inches of snow right now on the lawn, probably more to come tonight. But for us, it's 2-3 days out of the year, maybe, right? That's it. That's all we got to deal with. But imagine if you're like up north, right? So imagine, you have snowfall and then it melts. And especially when you start getting into like March time frame, you're thinking, okay, this might be the last one. And the lawn's gonna start greening up and get going. And then it snows again. So you guys get a lot of, hope given, hope taken away, hope given, hope taken away. In our case, we typically have to deal with it like once, maybe twice over the entire year, and not for very long. So I guess I should just count my blessings and not stop complaining about it, right? I mean, it's not like the lawn is going to be growing and going to be green right now anyway. So there is that. Matthew Whitson is in the live stream. He says, would it be better to use the water dispersal granular prodiamine after scalping so the dormant grass won't absorb some of the pre-emergent, even while using the floodjet tip? Thanks. Either way will work, Matthew. It doesn't really matter. If you wanted to use if you wanted to spray prodiamine in liquid form, that would work well. If you wanted to go out with a granular formulation of prodiamine, that will also work well too. The big thing is just make sure you're applying it at the correct rates, and you're going to be just fine. It doesn't really matter. Again, I've given my feelings as far as liquids versus granular, from the standpoint that liquids give you more flexibility. So if you had some henbit or some poa that's in your lawn that's breaking through, and you wanted to be able to clean that up at the same time as you're putting out your pre-emergent, liquid gives you that option, whereas granular really doesn't. But that's about the extent of it. Either one will work well, assuming they're applied properly and watered in. Okay, next we got Cheryl Battle. Cheryl Battle is hailing us from, looks like Augusta, Georgia. You know that you talk about a city that can produce some. I always tell you guys, if you ever get a chance, if you're a real grass nerd, if you ever get a chance, even if you don't like golf, go to Augusta National. Like if you can get tickets to like even like a practice round, like it's worth it, man. I mean, it's like if you look at the grass on TV, and it really doesn't do it justice. I mean, like what you see on TV, even as incredible as it looks, is better in person. Like the way I always tell folks is Augusta National is if you were going to like imagine the best lawn ever, like the best grass you've ever seen, and it's better than that. So it's like it's one of these things you have to experience it to just experience it. You have to experience it. You just can't. I mean, pictures, video doesn't really even do it justice. All right, Cheryl Battle is up next. She says, Ron, Augusta, Georgia here. Laid sod in August and was advised not to use any weed killer for 6 months. That puts me into February. I have a lot of weeds. What is my schedule now that pre-emergent time is coming up? So I'm guessing that you have, you're using like either Bermuda or Zoysia. If it's Bermuda, you know, you could do prodiamine in the spring. So I'm assuming, when did you say you put it in? Yeah, in August. So August, September, October, November, December, January. Yeah. So with Bermuda, I really wouldn't be too concerned about putting out pre-emergent come February timeframe. If you had Zoysia, if you're going to do it, you might want to back the rate down. So whereas with take prodiamine as an example, the higher end of the application limit is like 0.80, 0.83, if you're going to be exact, right? Whereas Bermuda would tolerate that. For a new Zoysia line that's only 6 months old, you might want to stick closer to about half that, so like 0.4 ounces per thousand. That if you assuming you got Zoysia, it would tolerate that just fine. And as far as weed killer, not to use any weed killer for 6 months, this time of year, I imagine your lawn is dormant. Again, I'm assuming you have a warm season lawn. So if you wanted to use a post-emergent herbicide like Celsius for broadleaf weeds, or like Certainty for Poa annua, that would be fine, because your desirable grass like your Bermuda, your Zoysia, is going to be checked out. It's going to be brown. It's going to be dormant. It's really, the post-emergent herbicide is really not going to have much of an effect on it at all. So again, assuming that everything I'm saying here is correct, that you've got a warm season grass, that it is dormant. If you want to control Poa, henbit, the types of weeds that you tend to have this time of year when temperatures are cooler, using a post-emergent herbicide like Celsius or Certainty, I wouldn't be opposed to that, because again, your grass is checked out. It's not really doing a whole lot right now. The weeds are thriving, so it'd be a great time to get rid of them. So again, this kit that has Celsius, which is excellent for broadleaf control, Certainty, which is great for your Poa annua, and pretty much all sedges, like this combination you can use when it's cooler all the way into summertime, because neither of these herbicides really have any temperature restrictions, which is why we like them so much, right? Like there are other options for herbicides for controlling, say, broadleaf weeds in a warm season lawn, like 2,4-D is not bad, but you have to be careful, especially when it gets into like late spring, early summer, where it gets hotter. That's when you can start getting some discoloration. Whereas with Celsius and Certainty, neither of them really have any labeled temperature restrictions. So as long as you're, if you're not, I wouldn't go out and spray if it's like 110 degrees out, but I mean, for the most part, you can spray them over a really broad temperature range with little to no chance of injuring your desirable grass if you stick to the recommended rates. So hope that helps. For your pre-emergent, if you want to be conservative, you could still put it out next month. Just make sure you spray not at full rate, say at half rate. And then if you want to clean up existing weeds, again, assuming your current lawn is dormant, the post-emergent herbicides that I will link for you here in the chat would be a good option. It's what I would do on my lawn. So hopefully that helps. Congrats on the new lawn, and keep us posted as far as how it develops. All right, RV18 is here. He says, "Evening, everyone. Ron, are you turf raking your lawn? And what's your height of cut right now? Thanks." Yes, I have turf raked my lawn, and my height of cut is still the 0.70, 0.75, 0.70 is where it's at. What'll happen is, end of this month, I'll take it down to like 5/8, and then that'll be it. That'll be it. 5/8, and that's where I'll leave it till going into to start the season out until it gets to be like June, and then I'll go up to 3/4 inch, and then I'll leave it there the rest of the season. So 5/8 starting out, and then going up to 3/4 inch, and that's how I tend to do it, and works well on my lawn. And yeah, but what will happen? What will happen on the lawn is it will get verticut. It will get a couple passes of verticutting, of light verticutting, 2 directions, and I will turf rake it, and then I will mow it. And then that will get all the trash out of it. I think you guys are gonna be surprised. Quite a bit of debris will still likely come out of it following that process. But yeah, that's the plan. That's what I'm gonna be doing here in a few, well, mid-January, so it's a few weeks from now, late January, early February. Whenever I get around to it, is when I'm gonna get that done. But yeah, that's the plan. All right, next up is Emmanuel Jacobs. Emmanuel Jacobs. He says, "Evening, Ron. If my memory serves me, I believe you said you worked in IT security. As a student who's currently studying cybersecurity, what IT job did you do?" Okay, it's a good question, Emmanuel. So when I first started out my career, I was a sysadmin, so system administrator. So I was a Linux administrator. At the school that I went to, I helped, and this is kind of dating myself, I helped with the migration from Windows 3.1 to Windows 95. Like, this is when you could actually install Windows 95 on a bunch of stack of floppies. I think it was like 30 something floppies is what you could actually do it. So I did sysadmin work to start out with. And then in the early 2000s, I moved into information security, primarily as penetration testing. So I started doing research. I would go to conferences and like share the little bit that I knew about information security, about pen testing, about exploit development, and then I got a job doing it professionally, and did that for a number of years, and then I moved over to the defensive side to where I help prevent bad guys from breaking into networks. So I always say, like, the best person to help you to defend a house is the guy that knows all the ways to break into it. So for someone starting out, what I would tell you is the best advice I could give anyone getting into cyber. I know it's really hot and it's a cool field to get in now into security, because everyone thinks there's a lot of money in it, which there is. But I'll tell you, the best infosec guys or gals are people that really enjoy learning. Like, you have to be, it's not one of these things you can go to school for. And well, I know there's a lot of colleges offering degrees in infosec these days. Like, you have to like taking the time, your own free time, to like build your own lab and learn how stuff works. But a good way to put it to you is this way, right? Like, as a penetration tester, when I would, which basically is an ethical hacker, I would get paid to assess web apps or like applications that companies would write, or attack networks. Like, in order to be able to do that properly, you have to have an understanding of how it looks when it's put together properly, right? In other words, to be able to attack a network, to be able to abuse a network, to abuse ARP or abuse other protocols within the network, to be able to take it over, you have to understand like how it should look when it's done right. And the same thing when it comes to being a sysadmin, right? You have to, before you like, the better hackers are people that understand how something is supposed to be done properly, how it's supposed to be put together properly, and having that foundation allows you to know, you can look at a system and you can say, even though it's designed to do X, Y, Z, or the developer designed it to do this, in order for the application to behave this way, this functionality has to be in it. And how can I abuse that? How can I reroute execution to make it do what I want it to do? So I'd say, I mean, it's a great field to get into, but you have to be a continual learner. You got to love it, man. Like, the best people, like I've interviewed, I've interviewed hundreds of people across my career, and the best security professionals, it's probably true for most fields, are not necessarily the ones that had the most pedigreed training, like what schools they went to. It's the ones that like, even in their free time, that's what they did. They enjoyed it. They spent a lot of time on it. Here's a good litmus test for you. Here's how you can always tell. It's a test I always ask on any question I always ask on any interview that I do, right? And it's this, and you can take this in home and you can use it as your homework, right? And the question is, you're sitting in front of your computer, right? And you open up a browser and you're going to say you're going to go to golfcourselawn.com or golfcourselawn.store, right? Explain to me in as much detail as possible everything that's happening from the time you put the URL in, you hit enter, until the page is rendered in your browser. Give me as much detail as you possibly can. The best answer I've ever gotten to that question took the person over 20 minutes to explain it all. So if your answer is, I put it in, I hit enter, it does a DNS request and then it loads, or it does an HTTP request and it loads, it's technically correct, but there's a lot of other stuff that happens in between there. And if you're really good, you should be able to understand, like, going down the stack, everything that happens to lead up to that. So hope that helps, sir. I'm gonna get back to grass, but yeah, that's the advice I would tell you if you're starting in the field. All right, Trevor Schultz Golf is up next. Is in SoCal without an actual winter. When should I hit the Bermuda for a hard reset? I mean, you still have time, Trevor. I'd say next month, end this month, early next month. With you being in SoCal, your lawn is probably going to green up sooner. Probably along the lines of kind of what we get here in Georgia. Maybe you're probably even a bit ahead of us. So if you wanted to do it next month, that'd be okay. Whenever you're planning to put out your pre-emergent, if you can, get your scalp done prior to putting out your pre-emergent. I'm a fan of doing that. It's not strictly necessary, but if you can, get the scalp done before putting the pre-emergent out. I just tend to find that it works better. You tend to get better control doing it that way. All right. Next up, we have Trevor Schultz back. Golf again. He has another question. He says, I started with T-Nex last season. Do you still use the product? Are you impressed with the results? So I've used T-Nex in the past. I used to use T-Nex years ago. For the past 3+ years now, I've switched to Primo. The active ingredient in Primo is the same that's in T-Nex. However, all the carriers, meaning all the other stuff that's in here other than the Trinexapac ethyl, from batch to batch, are more consistent with Primo Max than what you would get in a lot of the off-brand Trinexapac ethyl products. So I've switched to Primo, gotten awesome results with it, and I've never seen any reason to go away from it. Absolutely love this stuff. If it's going to be your first, because you started using it last season, so you know, I mean, growth regulator, I always tell folks, there's life before growth regulator and there's life after growth regulator. So as long as you're spraying it at the correct rates, I'm a fan of doing it every couple of weeks. You're going to get a good result. There's folks that use T-Nex and get great results with it. I use Primo. And then starting this past season, I started stacking another growth regulator along with it. So if you like the results you're getting with Primo, consider getting yourself a bottle of this, of a new EZ. It's another growth regulator as well. These two mix really nicely together. And as far as producing like a nicer depth of color, getting more even regulation, it's really nice. Like there's really no negatives to using a new and Primo. Again, I did it this past year and love the results. It was really good. If you're interested in what I am speaking of and like how to go about doing it, like what is this witchcraft you speak of, Ron? I will share a blog post that talks about Primo, talks about Anew, and then talks about using them together, complete with videos that show you how I like to use them to get great results. If anything, it has the rates for doing the split application technique that I like to do. So if anything, it's a great reference for that purpose. So I'll link it to you here in the chat, and you can take a look and let me know what you think, Trevor. Hopefully this comes across to you. I know you're on Instagram, but I'll just call it PGR blog post. But yeah, it's good. I'm a huge fan of growth regulator, especially if you're real mowing your lawn. Even if you're not, it's a great addition to, my opinion, really any lawn care program. All right, next up we have Mace. Already answered it. You said yes, thank you. Dormant seeding would like the lawn established. Thank you. All right, yeah, no worries. Happy to help out. All right. Next up is Trilla from Manila. He says, hey, Ron, and happy Friday, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well with all the crazy weather events. Yeah, we're hanging in there, man. You know, trying to stay cool and, well, it's not as cool as easy. Trying to stay warm. That's probably a better way of saying it. Trying to stay warm and dry. You know, I thought about going out to go make a run at the post office, but I think they were closed. So it had been all fruitless to get, because I really wanted to get my soil test results out. Should have done it yesterday, but I didn't. See, procrastination. Don't procrastinate. You need to get something done, get it done sooner than later, because now it didn't go out today. and probably won't go out until tomorrow. See, so I'm like a week behind now, more days behind, 2 days longer for me to get my results back, which is not good. All right. We have another super chat. This one from Mr. Dan Lynch again. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it, man. Another super chat. Do you have another question? Let's see here. I think you do. Yeah, here we go. He says, I'm planning on doing 2 leveling projects this year. One with pure sand, and one will be a 50-50, mix of sand and compost. Which would you consider putting down first? I would do the sand compost first. I would do the blend first. I would do the 50-50 of compost and sand first, and then do your pure sand afterwards, if it were me. That is what I would do, Dan. Sounds like a fun project, man. So you've already decided one is not going to be enough. You're going to have to do 2. Okay. I mean, I get it, man. I understand it. Leveling along, it's never quite perfect. There's always something you got to get touched up. So I understand it. I guess out of curiosity, I know you can't answer me, but why the reasoning? What's the reasoning behind like a 50-50 one time and then 100% sand the second time versus just doing like 2 50-50s? You know, I mean, I think that honestly, that's probably what I would do, like a 50-50 both times. But you know, to each his own. That can work well too. Next up, we got Kyle Hayden. He says, thank you for doing this every Friday. No worries, Kyle. I appreciate you showing up every Friday. So thank you for all the love and support. It means a lot. And then Jimmy Miller says, parts from our True Cut came in Thursday, and we'll pick up the throttle and groove roller from Real Rollers Monday morning, weather permitting. Then the fun begins. Nice. I like it. All right. Next up, we have Adam Starks. He says, hey, question. I don't see his name in the chat anymore, but is the blade fixer here in Georgia? If not, do you know a person in Georgia to sharpen and service real mowers? Yeah, so reach out to Real Rollers. I think they're gonna. I believe that's a service they're gonna start offering. So reach out to them. I'm pretty sure it's something that they're planning to do. So if they haven't started up already, they should be shortly. They're gonna do a good job. There's a couple other places, but I can tell you, I've used the for my Greensmaster. It's gone to Jerry Pate. Like, they've done excellent work, but they primarily just do Toro stuff. And there's other services out here that will do real mowers as well too. But the ones that I have direct experience with are Jerry Pate, and then there's a gentleman named Michael Hammonds that has done some sharpening work for me on the Owlet in the past. I'm not sure if he still does it, but yeah, he's done as well too. So it just depends. But I mean, reach out to Real Rollers, as I would tell you. Reach out to them. Reach out to Lee and Isaac. Talk to them, and they will let you know as far as a timeline, like when they're going to have, assuming they're not already doing it, when they will crank that up, because they're going to do good work. I mean, they're pretty picky, so it should anything you take to them will come out nice. All right. Next up is Good Man's Journey. He says, 2 questions. I'm thinking about investing in a real mower. Ooh, well, you know, kind of like Primo. There's life before this and there's life after this. But I'm not going to try and push you away from it. He says, how do you sharpen the blades, or where would you take it to get sharpened? Great question. So how do you sharpen them is they need to go to a specialized machine that's like a grinder. What it does is, like, the mower or the cutting unit gets mounted in, again, this chassis, and there's for a better way of describing it, a grinding wheel that goes across the reel as it's spinning to put an edge on it. So it's not something you're going to do yourself. It's just what I'm trying to get to. It's not something that you would do at home. You're going to take it to a shop that specializes in that, and they will take care of it. The good news, though, is that really, for most people, once per season is really all you need. And if you need to freshen up, you can backlap to kind of cover you throughout the season. So it's typically a once a year type thing. And what you could do is just find wherever you're getting a real mower from. You know, if you're buying it from a local shop or whatever, they will often do service for you. But if not, they can recommend someone in your area that will offer sharpening services. I believe that Real Rollers is going to do a mail-in service for their mowers. I'm not sure doing it for all of them. For example, the Revolutions, I believe they're going to allow customers to mail those in, and they will sharpen them and send them back to you. But if the mower you're getting is not a Revolution, you have to find someone locally to be able to do that work. Again, there should be someone in the area. If there's someone in your area that's selling a real mower, there should be someone, you know, within an hour or so of you that can service it and keep it all freshened up. So I hope that helps. Good man's journey. You're going to have to find a service to do it. It's not something that you can really do yourself. And the equipment's really is specialized. It's expensive. And given that you're only going to do it, once, maybe twice per season, it's not something that anyone would really realistically invest in. All right, and then next up, he says, second question, what are your thoughts on pre-germinating seeds? I live in Ohio, so it's not something that I've ever done, but the folks that do it swear by it. They say that you get improved germination, so I don't really see any negative towards doing that good man's journey. Again, not speaking from direct experience, but I've had Devin, who was on the live stream here last week. He's a greenskeeper at a course in Colorado Springs. I think it's the club at Flying Horse. He's a fan of it, and there's a lot. You look on YouTube, there's a bunch of other folks that will pre-germinate their seeds and then put them out, and it just improves the grow and helps grow with your germination rates. So again, not talking from personal experience, but I've only heard positives from doing that. So if you're planning on doing it this spring, it's probably a good choice. Assuming you got the time to do it, probably not a bad idea. All right, next up we have Michael Kuhn. He says, how long would you wait to use any pre-emergent having a lawn completely grown from seed? It depends on the kind of grass. Depends on the grass. If it's like a cool season lawn, at a minimum 6 months, realistically more closer to a year if you're really trying to be conservative. For a warm season lawn like Bermuda grown from grass seed, 3 to 6 months would be fine. And then zoysia, same thing, 3 to 6 months. But a cool season lawn, you really want to give it, again, at a minimum 6 months at low rates, and then really a year if you're really trying to be conservative. So hope that helps, Michael. And then Cheryl Bell says, I live down the street from the Masters. I am so jealous every time I drive by. It's insane, man. I can't stress to folks enough. If you are a golf or a turf nerd, it's worth doing at least once. Even if you don't like golf, it's just worth walking the grounds and just walking on that grass and seeing it in person. It's just, you've never seen, you want to see what like a practically unlimited budget, and of course it only has to look good for say a couple of months. You say a couple of months, but really it's only designed to really look incredible like 1 or 2 weeks out of the year. Like you take a ton of money and it's only got to look really good in April. Like what you can do with that, go see Augusta National, because it's something special. That's all I can say. It's like you have to see it in person to really appreciate it. By far the best stand of turf grass I've ever been able to touch or walk on. I mean, I like my lawn. My lawn's pretty good, but not Augusta National. Not Augusta National. All right, Jonathan Camarado says, my first overseeding of perennial rye looks the same as your lawn. Buried underneath several inches of snow. I have not had to mow in weeks. Dog urine is beyond deadly to rye. Beware with urine. All right, well, at least you don't have to see it right now, Jonathan, right? Because it's covered in snow. So there's that. There's a benefit to the dog damage. But yeah. Okay. And next up is Fairway Bermuda. Daryl's in the live stream. What's going on, Daryl? He says, what's up, Ron? Everyone, I'm glad to be off tonight to catch the live stream live. Keep up the great info. I appreciate it, Daryl. Hey, Daryl, the thing, and at some point, if you can, drop me an email. Send me an email. I think you already have my email address, ron@golfcourselawn.com. If you can, send me an email real quick. Wanted to chat with you about something. It's something that we were talking about when you were here for the Turf Park party this past October. But yeah, I just want to run something by you. So if you can, drop me an email and I will hit you up. We'll chat about it and stuff. Something for this season. Be kind of cool. Okay, next up is Terrence Stamps. He says, evening, I thought I came in on a special episode of the Golf Course Lawn web edition. Oh, what, because of all the snow? Yeah, man, I guess. It's a thing, man. Snow happens. That was the lawn this morning. If you guys are just joining the show. And guys, if you're enjoying the live stream, if you've not hit the like button, please do so. It costs absolutely nothing. It's a free way to support the channel, and I'd really appreciate it. It would warm my heart because the weather outside is really cold right now. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, it would mean a whole lot and then some. All right. All right, so we have another super chat. Let me grab this one really quick. This one is from Mr. Chico. He says, super chat received. Thoughts on perennial ryegrass in South Florida? I don't think it's not gonna do well, man. It gets too hot down there. It gets too hot and it stays hot for it's hot all the time. It's like South Florida it's got climate almost like back home for me, almost like the Caribbean. So it's not like ryegrass is not going to do well in South Florida. You know, I'll give you an example. Like I had a neighbor, there's a neighbor that's down the street that has a lot of shade and had from some mature trees that are in their lawn, and they decided they wanted to try out ryegrass over on their vanity strip because they figured, hey, it's plenty of sunlight, it's plenty of shade, and there's not enough sunlight for Bermuda to grow, so maybe ryegrass will do well. And what happened is, and again, mind you, this is in Georgia. In the springtime, like April timeframe, it looked pretty good. But then as soon as that heat rolled in like May and June, regardless of how much water they put on it, it shriveled up and died. So, and that's here. That's where we're several hundred miles north of you, and even with with a largely shaded area, just the amount of heat, it was just too much for the ryegrass to live. So in South Florida, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's highly unlikely to be successful. Highly, 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 highly unlikely for you to get a good result. What I would say is go with Bermuda, go with zoysia. St. Augustine is very popular down there. There's some folks that have bahia grass lawns, like that would work well. You're going to want to use a type of turf grass that is better suited to hot weather. So if you want something that's like a finer, a prettier grass, zoysia would be my recommendation. So of the ones I just recommended, out of Bermuda, zoysia, St. Augustine, bahia, centipede, like zoysia is probably the prettiest of the three. So that's what I would tell you to look into. But ryegrass, perennial ryegrass in South Florida is going to be a hard no-go. It's going to be an exercise in frustration. You're going to be really mad. You're going to spend a lot of time. Assuming you can even get it to germinate, it'll probably germinate, but then it's going to die shortly thereafter. So I personally wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. If you want to try though, take pictures, video it, let us know how it works out. But I think it's not going to go well. You're very welcome, Trevor. And then next up is Lons Jewel. Says, what's your thoughts on the Provistas? I am considering the KBG in the spring. I don't have any direct experience with them. I know that if you're talking about the Scots Provista, I know they do a St. Augustine, and the only reason why I know about it is because Alan talks about it quite a bit, and I think it's a type of St. Augustine that has been bred or engineered to be resistant to glyphosate. So as far as you being able to use like glyphosate in your lawn and not kill the grass, like it's one of the advantages of it. But the other ones I don't have any direct experience with. I don't even know anyone that's even spoken about them. They're probably okay, but I don't know of anyone that's used them. When it comes to Kentucky bluegrass or ryegrass, Barrenbrug I know makes a really good grass seed. Like a lot of folks use their grass and have great results with it. The Provista is probably fine too, but I've never heard anyone talk about Provista Kentucky bluegrass. Doesn't mean that it's not a thing, but I've just not really, I don't have any direct experience with it. So hope that helps out, sir. We got another super chat or a super sticker. This one is thanks for the input. Happy New Year. I appreciate that. No worries at all. You're very welcome. Just try to save you the headache, man, because the thing is, when it comes to, it's funny, folks think that growing a lawn from seed is easy mode, and really it's harder, and for a lot of reasons. Like they look at the price of like sod and say, a pallet of zoysia or a pallet of Bermuda could be $300-400. A pallet of zoysia could be much more depending on the variety you go with, and say that's really expensive. But what you don't realize is that going from like bare dirt to a lawn and having it being fairly confident it's going to establish and grow in, your results are for most folks, are going to be a lot better going the sod route versus growing a lawn from seed. Because the thing that goes into a seeded lawn is the prep work has to be quite a bit much better. And then the thing that people don't really account for is the amount of water that it takes. So while you do need to water sod, like the thing that causes most seeding projects to fail is just not enough water. Like they allow the lawn to dry out, and that's the grass just never gets a chance to really establish and grow in before it does well. So if you're going to go the route of seeding a lawn, know what you're signing up with, know what you're signing up for, because it's not, most people decide to go the route of grass seed because I think it's cheaper. I'll give you an example. Like years ago, whenever I seeded my lawn with Arden 15, right? And this is for 1 month. So a bag of Arden 15 grass seed was not cheap. It was like $400 for 25-pound bag. So again, they're proud of the stuff. That wasn't the worst part. The watering bill for 1 month was north of $700. $700. So, and the thing is, it didn't even grow in. It didn't establish in everywhere. So it took a couple of rounds to get it to really grow in, fairly evenly throughout the back lawn. Whereas with sod, my watering would have been anywhere near that. So while you can grow a lawn from grass seed, and it's definitely an option. Sod is so much easier. Like, you literally will go from bare dirt to a lawn, and as far as it establishing, most people have a much better success rate with it. So there's something to think about. But to answer your question, Chico, I wouldn't do ryegrass in South Florida. I think it's going to be not good. On the topic of overseeded lawns that look incredible, Tom is asked for pictures here, and he sent one in, and man, this looks good. Looks really good. So while my lawn looks like hot garbage right now, looks like that, this is what Tom is working with, right? So much better. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So I know you had the checkerboard before. It looks like you went diamonds now, so you went diagonally on the mowing. Clean, man. Color looks incredible. Really nice work. Thank you. It's much better than staring at that. So that versus that, I think most of us would argue is much better than that. So thanks for the picture, sir. Really appreciate it. Thank you for giving me something to look at, while my lawn is all covered in snow. Okay. Next up, we have Two Trilla. He says, Ron, I don't know if you know, but heard all the news to the Longhorns that Supersod is coming to Texas. Ooh, that's cool. They will not be 100%, but at least operational by mid-season. Options are Zoysia, Tifway, and Tif Tough. Zoysia, okay, so they're all great options. If you're going Bermuda, Tif Tough. If you're going to go Zoysia, I think they do Xeon and El Toro. So probably if you want something finer, Xeon. But yeah, if you're going to go Bermuda, Tifway 419 or Tif Tough. Tif Tough is really nice. Real Rotors got it on the turf park, beautiful grass. And then for Zoysia, whichever one suits your eye. Most people, Xeon would be the way to go if you want a finer leaf blade. All right. Next up, Jimmy says, Real Rollers will only be servicing their Revolution 26 reels. Yeah, so there you go. So if you got a Rev 26, they'll be taking care of you. If you don't have that, then you got to find someone else. Next up, Kevin from LA says, hey, Ron, can you spoon feed fertilizer with a slow release fertilizer? Can you? Yes. It's just not, I don't particularly find it to be as effective, Kevin, because the idea behind with spoon feeding is that you want, with the liquid part of it anyway, you want something that's going to release a little bit faster because you're using it at lower rates. Because the whole point of it is this, right? You use the granular once a month for most of the feeding. And then you're using the liquids at really, like, again, just like it sounds like, you're spoon feeding it at very low rates as like a fill in between those granular feedings. So it kind of keeps the color consistent, the growth consistent. So the fertilizer, like the nutrient, has to release a bit faster than what you're going to get out of most slow release fertilizers. So can you? Yeah, but I would I would, like what I've done, and when I've done testing with what I know produces great results with, not on my lawn, but on like hundreds of other lawns over the country that are doing the same thing, is to use a blended granular fertilizer that has a slow release component to it, so it feeds for a little bit longer. But for the liquids, for that to be more of a faster releasing product, because again, we're spraying it at low rates every couple of weeks. And for that to really take effect and to show results, you want it to release a little bit faster. So hopefully that helps answer your question. And can you use slow release? I mean, I guess you could, but it's just, I don't think it's going to be quite as effective as using a faster releasing liquid fertilizer, like what we worked with the Andersons to put together in our 22-3. So like this would be an excellent choice for a liquid fertilizer for a spoon feeding program. Like that's gonna work really well. 6 ounces per 1,000 puts out about a 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen. It's gonna work great. Like that's what I would use. That is what I would use. I hope that helps, sir. Great question, but yeah, I would. Again, feel free to play with other options if you want. but I know that formula works. That formula works, not just for me, but for, again, countless of others across the country that are doing it. Okay, next up is Robert Rainey. He says, I had to apologize to my FedEx driver this week. What'd you do? All the stuff that you ordered? Yeah, I know you got lots of Essential G. You took advantage of the sale, so that's good, Robert. But I mean, he's probably used to it. He's probably like, oh man, here we go, going to Rainey's again. You have to have a truck just for him. But at least you're good, man. You're all good to go as far as for this season goes. You know what I mean? Next up is I'm not sure what this question is. So I'm not sure what this person is asking. He says, any advice on Pendy? I'm not sure what that is. So you may have to ask it a different way. I'm not sure what that is, so I don't put that up on the screen. All right, Jimmy Miller says, Daryl, please have Ron forward me your email address. I have some photos for you. Thanks. Hickory and oak trees have been removed. Nice. And then Fairway says, gotcha, Ron. Cool. Thanks. Appreciate that, Daryl. And next up, we have Michael Kuhn. He says, so I didn't know about having to wait before putting pre-emergent after seeding a new lawn. I did put some pre-emergent before the 6-month time period. What side effects might occur? Depending on how well established the grass is, it might kill some of it off. Like what pre-emergent, how a lot of them work is they inhibit the roots of the grass's ability, or the plant's ability to throw roots, to grow roots. If you can't grow roots, the plant you're targeting will die. And while it's really effective against weeds, unfortunately, it does the same thing for grass seed. So what I would say, Michael, is if you applied it and you're not seeing a lot of it die off, like if you're not losing a bunch of grass, you're probably okay. But what you would not want to do is say, go out and apply pre-emergent next month and then say, hey, in March, April, I'm going to seed my lawn. You're just not going to get a great result doing that. So ideally, it's one or the other. If you want, for best results, you want to avoid pre-emergent really within 4 months. If you're using prodiamine or dimension, within 4 months of whenever you're planning to do a seeding project. If you're using Spectacle, like 6 months, maybe even longer. Because Spectacle lasts for a lot, it stays in the soil for a lot longer than dimension or barricade or prodiamine. So yeah, so I hope that helps, sir. All right, next up, we got, I think our last comment is not really for me. It says, Fairway Bermuda Lawn says, what's up, Trilla? Brother, evening. Hopefully you and your family are doing well. Yes, so guys, awesome. I think that is all that we have for the show this evening. I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out on a Friday night. I know it's cold and snowy and miserable in a lot of parts of the country, but there's a lot of places you could be, but you chose to come hang out here. So I really, really do appreciate that. Be sure to take advantage of the little bit of Essential G that we have left. Once it's gone, and then the product that's going to be replacing it, carbonized PN, will be more expensive than what the price you're seeing there for Essential G. So feel free to load up on it while we have what we have. Once carbonized PNG is launched on the Golf Course Lawn Store, we'll send out an email blast, and you guys you'll know when it's available for sale. And I can't wait to see the results you guys get with it. I'm sure it's going to be awesome, just like Essential G. So guys, gals, thanks for taking the time to hang out this evening. Again, start thinking about your plans for this season. The stuff you should be thinking about this time of year are planning for your soil test, and then also planning what you're going to be using for pre-emergent. That's an important part of getting the season started out right, to where you can spend most of the time just enjoying your lawn, mowing it, doing the things you really enjoy versus fighting weeds all year. Again, thank you guys so much. I will see you guys next week. Have an amazing weekend. Be safe out there. Until next time.